Let's weave the story of Edlington and its village into the rich tapestry of South Yorkshire's history, connecting it to the River Don and the Coningsborough Viaduct. Hi there, I'm Dan, and I'm your no-nonsense guide to the guts and glory of our local history. We're not just talking dusty books and dates. We're diving into the nitty-gritty of our rivers, our viaducts and villages. From the brawls of war to the sweat of the mines, we'll dig up the stories that have put hair on the chest of our community. So grab a pint, pull up a chair, let's get down to the brass tacks of the rugged roots. We're stripping away the fluff and getting to the meat of the matter. No frills, no fuss, just the bold truth of our past. Welcome to Exploring with Dan, the show where we'll tell it like it is and have a good laugh while doing it. Let's roll. Edlington, the village with a vein of coal. Welcome to Edlington, or as the locals call it, Edlow. It's not just a dot on the map, it's a place where history and humour intertwine like the ivy on an old miner's cottage. From ancient roots to modern boots, Ice Age inhabitants, before there were pubs and chippies, Edlington was a hot spot for the upper Paleolithic nomads. They didn't leave behind any cave paintings, but they did drop a bunch of flint tools, which is kind of like prehistoric littering. The name Edlington harks back to when the days when atheling meant you weren't royal enough to not pay taxes. Said that Atheling was Dane, was the big cheese around here, and not just because he liked Wensleydale. Doomsday debut, Edlington made its historical debut in the Doomsday Book as Ailington. Back then, being counted in a survey was a pretty big deal, like getting your first follower on ye old Instagram. We've got a lot of coal characters, good mining legacy. Fast forward to the industrial era, and Edlington was digging deep. The Yorkshire Main and Edlington Main collieries were the beating heart of the village, pumping out coal and community spirit until the late 20th century. Absolutely, let's expand on the narrative of Edlington, incorporating the essence of Bricktop, the mining heritage, and the community's journey from wartime to the present day, with a focus on recent challenges and the positive developments that are shaping the future. From wartime to grit, to modern spirit. So, ladies and gents, let's chat about Edlington, a place where history isn't just in books, it's under your feet and in the air you breathe. We're going to talk about Bricktop and the mining. Bricktop's legacy. In the heart of Edlington, Bricktop wasn't just a person. It was the nickname for the Yorkshire Main colliery winding wheel, a symbol of the town's mining prowess. This giant of industry turned Edlington from a quiet farming village into a coal mining powerhouse. As Britain battled in the world wars, Edlington's miners fought their very own wars underground. The coal they unearthed fueled the nation's fight and lit the fires of progress. In recent struggles and triumphs, tough times not long ago, Edlington hit a rough patch. The mines closed, jobs were scarce, and the headlines were not kind. It definitely seemed like the town's spark had dimmed. But there was a good sense of community resilience. Edlington is much more than simply its struggles. It's a community with grit. When times got tough, the people got tougher. They all rallied together, proving that Edlington's heartbeat is still strong. Now there's a buzz in the air. New homes are rising. Green space is thriving, and there's investment in the community. Edlington is on the upswing, with helping hands steering it towards a brighter tomorrow. So as we look at Edlington, today we see a town that's been through the ringer, but is coming out stronger than ever. It's the story of resilience, community and hope. And that, my friends, is something worth talking about. So this was formerly known as a brick pond. The brick pond as we know it today was the last of the three clay pits. The other two opened in the early 1900s, with the bricks produced being used for the construction of the Yorkshire Main colliery and local housing. These two clay pits were worked out in the early 1950s, along with Yorkshire Main colliery, now closed. The brickyard provided much needed employment for local people. On the site of the current brick pond, the clay was dug out and used to make clay bricks. The site was closed for a brief period of 4 to 5 years and reopened by the Hepworth Iron Company to make land drainage pipes. Production ceased in 1970 and the site was then left derelict for several years. When the brickyard closed, the clay pit was left with a small pond approximately 3 foot deep, 18 feet wide and 20 feet long, which had been a drainage sump for the brickworks. To keep the clay pit workable and prevent flooding, water was pumped out of the pond and carried to the natural stream which runs through the site. If the water level were to be dropped in the pond, part of a small pump house would still be visible, this being approximately 3 meters square and a remnant of the old brickyard site. When production ceased at the brickyard site, the pond was left to naturally fill up from a number of natural springs that run into it. These days, Edlington's Martin Wells Lake is a tranquil spot for fishing and birdwatching, proving that you can turn an old coal town into a wildlife haven. River Don's neighbour, just a stone's throw away from the River Don, Edlington shares in the river's tale of transformation from industrial artery to natural sanctuary. The Coningsborough Viaduct, that towering symbol of Victorian ambition, casts its long shadow over Edlington, connecting the village to the region's storied past of railways and rivalries. So there you have it, folks. A village that's seen it all, from Ice Age hunters to Instagram-worthy nature spots. Edlington's story is a reminder that whether you're a prince or a pit worker, everyone's a part of the unfolding saga of South Yorkshire. And who knows, maybe one day Edlington will be famous for something other than coal and ancient tools. Until then, we'll keep digging up the past and locale and chuckling at the quirks of these charming or unique places. Sometime during the 1980s, this site was landscaped to include pathways around the pond, which you may or may not have seen, you might have seen in the video. They had become considerably larger and of course deeper over the years. Boardwalks were installed at either side of the pond and steps created out of the railway sleepers on the embankments to allow easy access from a nearby housing estate. Trees and shrubs were planted by local school children. A concrete sluice was also put in place in the nearby stream to ensure correct levels of water were maintained in the pond, which had become used by a local fishing club. Metal gates were installed at various points of access to the site, but over the years they have been vandalised and are now in poor state of repair. A pathway was created to link the nearby recreation ground of Orbourne Road, a site which has been successfully and beautifully developed in the past few years to provide a children's play area as well as a site for off-road biking for the local community. Paths created around the site also provide a link to Coningsborough and include 2 small bridges over the existing stream. Edlington Town Council took on the lease for the site many years ago, which has been in constant use by the local fishing club and is still in use today. The Town Council released the lease in 2008 and it's now in the care of Doncaster Metropolitan Borough Council. However, during that period of time, it was in the hands of the Town Council. There was no management of the area and it became overgrown and neglected. The pond is well stocked with carp, tench, bream, perch, roach, pike and chub, along with the usual pond life. Newts, frogs and toads, etc. Ducks, coots and water hens all live on the pond, which is visited each year by swans to raise their young. A family of geese have taken up residence there this year to raise their family. Great crested grebe are breeding on the pond and have been for several years. Squirrels, rabbits and other wildlife all enjoy the site. Kingfishers have been sighted there along with skylarks and herons. The site boasts a healthy wild bird population. Pheasant and partridge can also be found. Deer tracks have also been noticed around the site. Away from the pond itself can be found cowslips growing in abundance, along with a good variety of other wildflowers, and indeed a colony of common orchids and bee orchids has been growing in size over the years, which, although not rare, they do add to the general interest and beauty of the site. The site was notified in 1989 as a site of special interest and site of special scientific interest due to the geological features from the Upper Permian, which are 8 metres thick at the brick pit site. Over the years, the shrubs and pathways have become overgrown and are desperately in need of some attention. The pathways have become narrower due to this and do not get used for this reason. A group of pupils from the nearby Sir Thomas Wharton School, under the supervision of the countryside ranger, have been undertaking some clearance work on the pathways recently, and this is already making parts of the site usable again. The site is visited by pupils from the local primary schools to give them an insight into environmental issues and wildlife, etc. So today we're going to take a journey back in time to explore the rich history of a place that's become a bit of an enigma. The Martin Wells Lake, also known as Bricktop in Edlington. This place is quite an intriguing story, and we're excited to share it with you. So, what's the deal with Martin Wells Lake? Well, this isn't just an ordinary lake. It's named after a man who used to own the mine that was located right where the lake sits today. The mine became famous for its unique brick-making process, which is how it earned its nickname, Bricktop. How did it get that name? Well, let's rewind back to the year 1956. That was when the mine was first discovered and began operation, and that's when this spot on the map became known as Bricktop. Over time, as mining operations ended and nature took over, this spot evolved into what we now know as Martin Wells Lake. Isn't history just fascinating? It's incredible how places like these can hold such a rich story within their walls, or in this case, the waters. I'm honoured that you've joined me on this educational journey into the past. If you do enjoy this little history lesson and you want to see more of this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please hit that bell and you will see more. I will sometimes do lives, but until then, let's keep on exploring. So hopefully you're still gathering round for this whimsical tale of Martin Wells Lake and the historic town of Edlington. And let's dive into the watery world of Martin Wells Lake, or as it was once known, the Brick Pond. Why? Because calling it a lake was just too mainstream for the cool bricks that used to hang out there. Well, basically, this lake is so well maintained it's practically got its own spa treatment, courtesy of the Friends of Martin Wells Lake. They're like the lake's personal stylists, making sure it's always looking fabulous for the fish. Speaking of fish, this lake has more variety than a sushi conveyor belt. And we're talking bream, carp, chub, F1, not the race cars mind you, perch, pike, roach and tench. It's like the United Nations of fish down there, all living in harmony. And the birds? They're just the paparazzi trying to snap a picture of the lake's celebrity fish. Now, let's hop on the history train. Next up, Edlington. However, due to the fact that vehicles were able to gain access easily to the site, it has been used for fly tipping at the sides of the paths and the pond and other places in the vicinity, and this in turn makes the whole site look neglected and unwanted. Removal of the fly tip rubbish is an ongoing task by the flag team and local residents. Progress is being made to improve site access, and a padlock gate has been installed by DMBC at the entrance of the site of the former Dixon Road, and this is helping to resolve the fly tipping problem and other issues around misuse by vehicles. In an attempt to sort out the many problems with the site, a group of like-minded people actually got together. It consisted of local fishermen, allotment holders and members of the great community. The group felt that a name change would be good, and the name they chose was the Martin Wells Lake, linked to the newly opened Martin Wells Centre, and the name of the group is Friends of Martin Wells Lake. This group meets monthly to discuss the site and to try and resolve some of the issues. The site is considered by the community to be a lovely open space to enjoy the open countryside, leading off from the site, even though it is only yards from well-populated housing estates. But due to vandalism over the years and the fly tipping issues, the site is not used as much, or not used as much as it should be. However, for the past year, there have been monthly site clearance days when the Friends of Martin Wells Lake have turned out in all weathers to litter pick, clear rubbish, and also prune back some of the trees and the undergrowth. The largest of the sets of steps have been cleared of the weeds, and the wood chippings from some of the trees that have been cleared have been put on the steps, and this makes them very comfortable for walking on and also improves the look of them. New steel grids have now been bolted and welded on to one of the boardwalks, and this has made the boardwalk actually usable again. These site clearance days have been very successful, and the first of the new benches was recently installed. Due to the progress made by the group on these days, the site is becoming used again, and local residents have commented on the difference that has been made. Not far from the Brickyard site, within walking distance, the route of the old railway line has been developed and now forms part of the National Cycleway. Landscaping of this said route has added to the beauty of the area and can be used by cyclists and walkers alike for long, pleasant walks in the countryside. Close to the entrance to the site off the former Dixon Road and Thompson Avenue, there are plans to build approximately 151 residential dwellings in a range of house types to provide affordable housing for the local community. And once the building work is complete, it can only add to the general improvement of the local area of Edlington and to be enjoyed by all. Such a beautifully done place. Such beautifully done. Right on the doorstep of Edlington. There's many estates out there. Not many practically have their own nature reserve and like this big. This town is so old that it was around when woolly mammoths were still a thing. The name Edlington comes from the old English word for prince, I do believe. So basically it's the royal family of towns, minus the corgis and tabloid drama. The Domesday Book gave Edlington a shout out back in 1086, which is like being mentioned in the medieval version of a celebrity tweet. Let's not forget the coal mining heritage. Edlington was once the place you wanted to be if you wanted to get your hands dirty and dig for coal. It was like the town's own underground treasure hunt. So there you have it, folks. Martin Wells Lake and Edlington, a place where history and humour swim together in a lake of laughter. I don't know. But anyway, thank you, and don't forget to tip your tour guide. Name's Dan. Hope to see you on the next travels. Stay safe out there. Stay golden. So Edlington is known for its two villages. One is High Edlington and the other is Low Edlington, which are located in the borough of North East Lincolnshire, technically. The area has a rich history dating back to the Iron Age, with evidence of early settlements found nearby. But that's what's truly captivating about Edlington. Its mysterious did-you-know fact. There's a spooky legend that claims the village was once inhabited by two notorious brothers, the Edlingtons. These brothers weren't your typical villagers. They were said to be pretty bloodthirsty murderers who terrorised the region during the 17th century. While this story might seem like a myth to some, it does have some truth to it. The term Edlington is thought to be derived from the Old English word edel and ing, which means inhabitant or village. So, there may not be any actual Edlingtons from centuries past. The name itself suggests a long-standing presence in this area. So as we're delving into the charming town of Edlington and Doncaster, let's not forget, we're going to make it a fun ride with some quick-fire facts to spice things up, just to keep things interesting. First off, Edlington is a quaint little town nestled in the heart of South Yorkshire, which already mentioned, as you know. It's home to just over 5,000 residents, not many, and it's famous for its rolling hills, picturesque landscapes, and an unmatched sense of community. Might not be a buzzing metropolis like New York City or London. It's tranquil, and the atmosphere here is a major draw for those seeking a slower pace of life, really. Now onto the fun part. Did you know Edlington was once home to the world's first ever golf course? No kidding. The game was actually invented right there in the town in 1864 by 4 locals who were bored with the traditional games of bowls and cricket. Talk about pioneers. Also, let's not forget Edlington's claim to fame. It was featured in the hit British comedy The Office. It was actually used as a stand-in for fictional town of Slough during filming. So yep, you might have seen your own backyard on TV if you have a look out for it. Here's one for you local history buffs. Did you know that Edlington was once home to one of England's most ancient settlements? The village has been inhabited since prehistoric times and has plenty of archaeological sites to prove it. So there you have it. Quick glimpse into what makes Edlington special. Hope this little journey has been as much fun for you as it was for us here with our charming town tales. Did you know Edlington is the birthplace of Sir Thomas Fairfax? He was a prominent figure during the English Civil War and played a crucial role in securing victory for parliamentary ends. Secondly, Doncaster has a unique claim to fame. It's home to the world's first cast iron bridge, designed by Thomas Hall in 1786. This groundbreaking structure opened new possibilities for engineering and construction. Thirdly, Doncaster was an important hub for the textile industry in the 19th century, I do believe. The town was known for its lace production, with hundreds of lace-making families contributing to the local economy. Fourthly, Edlington is home to one of Britain's oldest churches, St Mary's Church. This historic building dates back to the 7th century and has stood tall throughout centuries of history. Doncaster played an integral part in the coal mining industry, as I mentioned earlier. During the Industrial Revolution, the town was a major coal exporter and even had its own dedicated railway line for transporting coal. And lastly, Edlington and Doncaster were centres of industrial activity during the Industrial Revolution. Factories sprung up around these areas, producing everything from textiles to chemicals. There you have it. There's some fun facts about Edlington and Doncaster, accompanied by some serious historical facts that make this region so unique and intriguing. I just want to thank you all again for joining me on this little historical adventure. And if you did enjoy this video and learn something new, don't forget to smash that like, hit that share and subscribe to see more fascinating history lessons from places around the country. See you soon. Stay golden.